just don't understand the meta. It's just the truth.
Yeah, he is pretty pervasive when it does come to this meta. As Rumble looking to be the first pick here, they're not going to go for the set. The bans here were the same, by the same teams on different sides. So how will Life say, yeah, I mean, your idea was correct. You know, picking the set here was not the reason why you guys lost. And, you know, you and I, Wolf, in the last draft, we liked that pick as well. They are considering going for the Kalista first. Maybe want to think about it a little bit more, but I definitely do think that picking up set should be a good idea.
No, what'll be really interesting is if we see the same exact comp run for Hanwha Life that DRX ran last game, and to see how differently they utilize it, because I do very strongly stress that was not a draft diff in last game. It was just execution difference on a massive scale in the early game. Set will probably be taken away from Hanwha Life Esports now, though, since they did not lock that in. They chose the Diana instead.
Yeah, pretty interesting. You know, leaving the set available and giving it over to the side of DRX. I don't think in any world you're getting both Diana and set if you do go for that. I wouldn't have minded to see, you know, Kalista set, because then even you raise the question of maybe that set is going to the bottom side. Maybe you can flex the set in that case because of the Kalista, and then of course DRX aren't going to pick away your Diana, and if you still really want to pick that up, you can pick a third. Either way, they're going to give it over and also have the Viego go over. It seems like they really wanted to prioritize the Nocturne over everything else, so that's why they go for this line on the side of Hanwha Life.
Yeah, so it's very strong with the Diana, the Kalista too, but DRX have, you know, as long as they can stay grouped a little bit better and make sure they don't fall behind in the early game, we'll see if Nocturne has the same level of impact here for Hanwha Life Esports as it did last game. You know, with Diana, you can chase, but you don't have that same sort of consistent damage output that a Rumble does. You kind of use your combo and then that's it. So you're, you know, more reliant on having a little bit more control over the jungle, whereas Rumble can kind of walk in there if you have vision and you paranoia in. I'm going to get that consistent damage down with the flamethrower no matter what. Varus banned here. See the Kaisa ban come through. This is Hanwha Life have the ability to do this right now because they have the early Kalista. You do not want to play Ezreal into this. So that one's kind of like just banned by the nature of that matchup. You just don't want to do it because he will just get so crushed in the early game. Generally, regardless of support.
This is very funny. I mean, the draft looks very similar for both sides, except the teams are swapped. It's weird the way this has worked out. A couple of the champions are swapped. And now we do get our first big difference with the Gwen, which we did not see on either side in the last game. You would imagine that is going straight into the top side for Dudu.
Ezreal into the Kalista. I mean, he has a range advantage. He has a little bit of poke, but she does so much damage to him that we're going to have to see a much better performance on the bottom side of things, or Ezreal was going to have a really hard time. Struggles into any sort of lethality. Now, I like the Leona pickup. It's going to make it a lot tougher for Kalista to actually commit in to do damage because he'll be able to peel very easily for the Ezreal. And I wonder where the support is going to go here now for Hanwha Life Esports, because Alistair is historically speaking very strong with the Kalista. Gragas is amazing, but you know that was banned away. The Rakan also a solid option here. Not something you necessarily want to play into the Leona. Now take the Galio. Very similar in Gragas in a lot of ways, and his taunt is very strong against the set in particular.
Also, the follow-up on all that dive is really amazing. So it's a great combo with the Kalista down the bottom side. It's great for, you know, potential disengage on the Leona with the taunt, as you're mentioning, but also being thrown in there and throwing up a taunt, or you throw yourself in there, and maybe you can get pulled out by Kalista because support Gallios aren't exactly building, you know, able to build tons of tanky items to survive. But, you know, once that Aftershock does wear off, maybe you get pulled out and thrown back in or something like that.
Yeah, and this is a Pepe hands indeed. A weird matchup. They actually chose to put the set into the Gwen. He has a larger health pool, but because of her passive, you know, that gets chunked down pretty easily. He ends up being kind of a battery for her in a lot of ways. Whereas you could have played the Viego on the top side of the map and tried to sustain through a lot of that. It's not great into the Gwen either way, but this is how they're going to play this. Viego in mid, means you have a setup stun for Pyosik in the mid lane, so that's going to be nice. And on the top side of the map, Pyosik ever goes up there and Set has an opportunity to grab onto this Gwen. Sometimes you can finish her off. A lot more difficult to have the Rumble impact the Gwen. So in that regard, I think it's a pretty smart choice. For this, you know, when you look at this, like there's so much dive, there's so much damage, there's so much engage. You also have the safety of Fate's Call. It is a very, very great composition here on the side of Hanwha Esports. Let's see if the execution can be better this time for DRX on their second try around.
Yeah, I want to see these two teams have like an even matchup, right? We don't want to see DRX get crushed again and have the Pepe hand 0 and 7. You know, Hanwha can win, but I just don't want it to be another blowout 2 in a row. That would be a little bit disappointing for me, and I'm sure for a lot of the viewers as well. So let's hope that we can get some kind of competition here. As I like this skin, it's looking good. The thing about Hanwha's comp is that, yes, it does go pretty ham. It jumps in there, everybody kind of piles on. I think they do need a little bit of time to get both the Gwen and the Diana online. Some of the early skirmishing, especially towards the bottom of the map, will be strong. But,
yeah.
I do think that it will be a little bit less able to ramp up as fast as it did in game number 1.
Agreed. You know, unless, and we thought that things would turn out differently in game 1 as well, but DRX did make some small mistakes. If Solka does end up kind of feeding Chovy again early with Arthur's help, then it can certainly become a very, very strong draft for Hanwha Esports, faster than it's supposed to be. We'll see how this one goes. The sustain is insane for Viego into this matchup, so, you know, even though Chovy is going to have really great wave clear, Solka has just as great wave clear that comes with sustain, so trading here is always going to be great for the Viego.
So does Chovy, though, as you can see.
Yeah.
Great wave clear, great to sustain. So I think they're just going to probably be pushing waves into each other until the junglers do get involved.
Yeah, and once they hit 6, Hanwha Esports have a lot more agency with the Paranoia than Viego's going to have with his Heartbreaker. You know, it's just not quite the same impact, not at all. See how I'm talking about Ezreal having a little bit of an unfortunate time here in the lane in the early parts of it. And this is before, you know, Deft gets his first real item online. But that's just how it goes. Kalista likes to dominate the laning phase. We did get the update that the longest losing streak in LCK of all time in terms of matches was Generic Green lose 23 in a row. So we're not, we're just over halfway there for DRX.
Figured it would be them. As we did have the heal coming out here from Bao. This is what happens, you know, Bao made one slight mistake where he was trying to push up for a ranged minion at level 1, and he actually took a couple of autos and a rend. And right from there, it was total, I mean, it was already total control, but from there it was just like, okay, well, we're not going to have a fun time in this lane.
You can't ever really try to turn on this when there's a Galio here either, because of the taunt factor. Yep. So it's just a really nasty situation all around. I mean, even Becca's going to take quite a bit of abuse here, and they have so much.
They absolutely can't dive as well. With the Aftershock, this is going to be so easy.
You have Aftershock, wow, and you have so much burst. The health pool, you know, for a Galio, even this early on, just going to be able to tank 2 turret shots. That's no problem.
Oh, no.
Arthur's here.
Oh, God.
So I have bad news. I have bad news.
This is just not fair. And there's not much that Bao can do. Taunt, Aftershock comes in again. Right off cooldown, perfect timing. Arthur gets called to the bottom side, and that is already 2 kills going the way of Hanwha here at 3 minutes.
And this is why I really didn't want to see the Ezreal pick, but they banned away some of the other alternatives. You know, the Varus was taken away, Kaisa, Dudu, meanwhile.
Well, the idea is nice here from the side of DRX, the enemy junglers on the bottom side, and the execution was not there. And that's going to mean that Dudu will survive, holds on to his Ignite, and Pyosik has to flash.
It's also, you know, the issue that it's Gwen. This relieves a little bit of pressure in the mid lane for Chovy, or rather for Solka versus Chovy. It's a little bit of extra experience here, going to cost Chovy a little bit of CS.
Oh no, my CS!
and we know how much Chovy hates losing his CS.
That was the perfect emote.
But he also lost his teleport, so it was decent value, but it was never going to be the same amount of value as what Hanwha got on the bottom side of the map, sadly. I'm not sure what we're going to watch again. Okay, we're going to watch this exchange, the beginning of this before the jungle came in. So taunts onto Becca. The aftershock means that he is just basically invulnerable. Meanwhile, okay.
Solo kill here. I mean, King was trying to do this for about 10 minutes of the top lane in the last series, or the last game, and now he finally will get that going up on the top side.
Well, that's a little bit of extra gold going back. He has level 6 now, and with all the pressure that's put up there, he has a pretty massive CS lead, and it's only going to get bigger as this wave crashes in. While Dudu tries to return. We'll watch this again and see how this happened. As he hit procs Conqueror, the mist isn't going to do anything for you when he's hitting you with melee abilities, so just staying too long there. Facebreaker going to lock you down, that's all it takes.
Yeah. You would assume that, you know, 8 minions would be enough to push set off of you. It's not.
Never.
It's set.
Yeah, also, she doesn't have, you know, any Omnivamp outside of the, you know, Doran's blade available. Doran's, you know, not going to be too much for you. You know, we're not getting down the Rift Herald path or the Rift Maker path or anything like that. I always forget the name of the little staff that comes before it, but it doesn't even have that.
Well, level 6 here for King, and this is a pretty easy follow-up as Dudu is trying to run around the wall here.
No flash, of course.
So Facebreaker yet, but they are chasing him for quite a while, and that's going to be the Harpoon landing, and should be the kill as the flash will come in. Of course, no flash for Dudu, who went for Ignite and Teleport.
Yep. Hanwha will be able to trade a Drake back for this, but this is starting to become a Fed set. Already has, you know, his slow boots, so going to make this even easier to kind of snowball. This is very, very strong.
Uh-oh, Jovi's actually getting into the thick of it here as the Heartbreaker comes out, but we have the Rumble here, and Flash is on top of the Equalizer. The burn is not enough. So he'll be able to use that path and run away. Meanwhile, down on the bottom side, as we have the ultimate procs here, Becca is going to have to flash away. But now they are having this Rumble come down and potentially help out.
He's here, but he does not have his Equalizer, so not going to be too impactful. Just going to head over and clear some camps. It's pretty scary there for Chovy for a moment. I don't know if we'll get a replay of that. I think the Heartbreaker actually dodged his fear, so could not actually secure the kill. It was very close either way. We didn't see the beginning of it, so you might have used it earlier. But it's been a lot more action in this game on both sides than there was in the previous one, so that's already a good look here for DRX. We're seeing a pretty good game from Pyoshik. Kingin getting those 2 early kills is pretty massive. This is going to be another shot of it, as he does have level 6. And it's an easy Facebreaker, and then tosses him into the wall. And like I mentioned before, the mist here for Dudu, his W is just completely useless in this scenario because he's up against a melee. Flash to secure.
There's 1 Harpoon of damage from the Rumble.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even need Rumble.
That
could have just been... Yeah, I mean, the slow would have helped out, but even with the flash, like, I think he would have gotten the Facebreaker up in time, and now we are looking to help him out potentially, but there is vision up on the top side. The Needle's now getting to work. The Ignite is there as well. Final Needles will not land, and Kingin will get out safely.
Yep. Kingin going to be just fine up here, but Dudu looking to deny some CS, and they're not done just yet. Becca's come up here.
Okay, looking to turn it on to Dudu. We'll see if Becca can actually help out. The Equalizer absolutely will, as it is Chaos on top of the Hanwha Life members trying to go for their play.
It all comes
They get
back.
dominated by the set and the Rumble.
Yeah, it all comes back to the set. Facebreaker is massive in that exchange. Yes, Kingin dies, but that was so well played. It's being a positive trade for DRX yet again. And this is Dudu. He feels so confident to continue pushing forward, but with Rumble there, it's just so much damage output with the guaranteed CC. Becca coming all the way up there too. It was just a perfect storm.
Yeah, it's good to see DRX being proactive and rotating and playing around the lanes where they have strengths, where they feel like they can get ahead, and it's working out really well.
The elephant in the room is the bottom lane still. But it's a Kalista into an Ezreal that will, you know, eventually scale up. It's going to take him a lot longer. He's 30 CS down at the moment.
Solskjaer is going really far. He's able to Heartbreaker over the wall, though. And even without the flash, that Viego will be able to create some room and get some distance.
LoL Esports still want to fight.
Okay. He decided, yeah, okay, they're all there. Let me push up in the mid lane afterwards, and Fate's Call will easily secure that one.
So the assumption there was that they were going to be on the Rift Herald right away, so he thought maybe he'd be able to get away with some greedy, you know, farming there in the mid lane, but is punished, and they get the Rift Herald moments afterwards, so ends up being just fine here for Hanwha Esports. Bit of a misread there from Soka, sadly. And a very volatile game. Small mistakes like this can actually throw your lead.
Oh boy.
What is going on?
Now we're just phase checking.
Yeah, that was like, I mean, was there any doubt that they were doing that?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have vision on the pixel brush, and he was just like, let me go check. Yeah, a bit of a yikes in that one.
Yeah, we'll watch this one more time. Dudu has full stacks on his Q, so he has a lot of damage, so he feels pretty safe here, but then set happens, and yes, he dies, but the Equalizer on top of it all is just so much damage. And this is Soka saying, okay, well, they started the Rift Herald, so I'm going to go grab some minions. Nope, he's going to die. And then after that, this time they're like, well, maybe they're not doing the Rift Herald because they weren't doing it when I died. And Becca walks up here, no vision on the pixel brush, is taunted and killed immediately. And what do you gain if you see they're doing it there? I mean, you can't stop it. You don't have anybody. You didn't have a solar flare up. There was nobody with him. That was a very puzzling move.
Yeah, a tumultuous early game here. Really back and forth as the teams give it their all to give their opponents a chance. But yeah, no, it was good play by DRX early on, but now I think they're a couple of mistakes later, and unfortunately they've kind of lost their lead. As now we're trying to get on top of Arthur. The flash does come in, and Galio is looking to help out from the distance as they get on top of the Rumble, take him out. Here's the teleport now coming in, but Set is so massive in this game, and Dudu is 1v4 essentially. He's got the mist as now Deft has arrived to the fight, and I think he's going to put an end to all of this. Picks up the double, and would have gotten the triple if Kingen did not flash for the escape.
You know, it was so well played by Arthur, despite the collapse in on top of him. He moonfalls and flashes away during the paranoia. He's able to get out just fine. And then as soon as Invista comes in too for the big save, and all this does is delay for the arrival of Deft, who now has his Immortal Shield Bow up. The guy is insanely fed. 3 kills, 4 assists, 7 of the 9 on his team belong to him. And he's going to get a plate here in the mid lane. He's going to get any gold he can. And, you know, Kalista in the early game is very strong, but when she is this strong, you're just not able to contest her objectives. As we watch this one more time, Arthur comes through here. Pyosik sees an opportunity, and he has a ward, so there's a teleport. So Arthur escapes, right? Now, the flash comes forward, and he actually uses his Moonfall, and then that buys just enough time for the Galio to arrive. He flashes out, and then, yeah, Set gets a kill here onto the Galio, but by the time that Dudu buys all this time with his sustain here, Deft shows up, and then it's just like,
how does Gwen, like, not die when this entire
we're actually
we're gonna watch, yeah. Here we go, let's see how she doesn't die.
So, goes in, looks for Bao, backs off, has his mist up, so he's avoiding a lot of the range damage from outside, and then just Qs through this to get the heals. So he's saying the angle was good. Let's fight this. And, I mean, he was right. I saw a post that if you just take items away at level 18, Gwen has more base armor than Darius. Someone posted that on Reddit the other day, and I was like, hold on, can I verify? As I went and checked, I'm like, wow, that's just not right.
Yeah, there's been a lot of posts like that. There was one where it's like fully stacked stacks on Darius with Conqueror, loses at level 1 to go in with no items or something like that. She is pretty good at skirmishing. That is one thing that she does. She just kind of runs at you and she skirmishes. And that's where her power does lie. We've already seen some of her weaknesses shown in this one, but certainly we are also beginning to see her abundance of strengths on top of it.
Yeah. Notice how Hanwha Esports continue to set traps like this where they have a lot of sustain in these fights, and Arthur actually bought a stopwatch too. So what they did there was try to show, okay, we're grouped as 2. You could come in and maybe look for a fight on us while Chovy was nearby. Arthur was nearby, you know, to look for a fight and actually turn that. I'm sorry, not Arthur, but Deft was nearby. So we could have had another situation where DRX see the bait, go in on the engage, and then paranoia happens. And we saw this a lot in the early game last game, which is why Hanwha got so far ahead, is because DRX just kept looking for these skirmishes against a Nocturne that can come from so far away. They did not, though, look for the engage, and now they're grouped up here.
Okay, Vista, you can see he has no fear at all because Dudu is right here. Becca's pushing in. The rest of the team is running away. And you can see some of the issues here for the DRX lineup. They're behind. Some people want to go in. Some people want to leave. The answer in that one, I think, was to leave, but Becca did not get the memo.
Yeah, like 2 items to 0, by the way, for Ezreal.
Okay, looking to turn this one around as it's a one-on-one in both scenarios. We're trying to watch this as the Rumble doesn't get that much value, and even Kingen is going to start losing in the 1v1 against this Gwen, even after the gigantic start that he got in this game.
Yeah, and that is going to be a lot of damage to this turret if they don't just outright commit to it. Vista's here, it's just going to be a free turret after the exchange. And Ezreal now does buy his Divine Sunder. I mean, it is just kind of the fact of Ezreal that he has to build so weirdly that it does take him a while to get his Mythic compared to other champions, but 2 to 0 is not a good start. As we see Becca here is just completely isolated, and once he's dead, you know, you feel very free to continue moving forward here to group. Kingen tries to set a trap, and Kingen is the one fed member of DRX right now.
Watch the Set versus Gwen fight. Because
she just outdoes him. She outsustains him. She heals through that, and she doesn't even have her Riftmaker yet.
She was down a level, down an item. Does not matter. Against Set, right?
Remember when I said I was a little bit surprised they put the Set into the Gwen? It's just, you know, she will just continue to hit him and heal through a lot of the time, because he's, you know, so based on his combo that if you don't wipe her out instantly, you will lose that longer fight, even when you're ahead, even when she doesn't have a Riftmaker. So, you know, the situation is quite dire. Valdez, he's only 200 gold up now, and he's the only one who's got a gold lead. The Kalista is extremely fed. Chovy's starting to really come online. Diana, 10 stacks of the Dark Seal.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we're kind of going down that lane once again here for game number 2. And yeah, Deft is more than 3,000 gold ahead of his opponent. The laning phase was just a nightmare for DRX. And I think we're just waiting for Chovy to pick up one more kill. It's 1 or 2. And he is going to hit 1,000 kills. The quickest player, the fastest player in LCK history to pull it off, as long as he can get one more kill here in the series.
Yep. Deft hits 11 in this fight. Good luck, DRX.
Yeah, they're like, we really got to get this Ocean Drake. They're not even going to get the Ocean Drake. As here we go, the Fates Call comes in, throws back in the Galio, and there really is not much hope as Bao is trying to kite it out. The Equalizer is desperate at best, and the rest of everybody else is just running away.
If it was an even game, the Equalizer would have been fantastic.
Oh, give it to Chovy!
There it is.
I think that's the 1,000?
It's either 999 or 1,000. I think it was either 7 or 8 last game, so we'll get that confirmation shortly, but yeah. Equalizer would have been great in a normal fight.
Okay. Ghost is going to trade one.
Is he though? Is he though, Valdez?
No, he's not. Okay, he got the red buff.
Small victories.
That's something.
He was 6 kills, in fact, in game 1, so he needs 2 more.
No,
might not happen in this series. Well, I thought he was 9 away.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't do math. I was thinking,
he was 9 away.
10
You're right.
For some reason, yeah. No.
This is why we don't do math on cast.
Oh, that just happened. I did that on live. In my head,
okay.
I don't know.
Happens to the best of us.
We live in a base 10 number system world, Valdez. My brain was just in the wrong place.
We live in a smartphone calculator world.
A society, if you will. Well, DRX are going to try to look to group up here, but they're a little bit late to the party to stop this Rift Herald.
Yeah.
Baron spawns in 1 minute, but there's no objective to fight over now for DRX. And even if you outnumber Hanwha Esports for the same reasons last game, the main reason is the Nocturne, but otherwise their comp collapses in so well because they have not only the Nocturne, but also the Galio this time. Vista does not have vision of this, even though it looks really ominous, like he's about to stop this and engage. He did not know. He had an idea, but was not able to make the play happen. So we're going to go back a little bit here and watch this Drake fight, where DRX had positional advantage, but they just did not have the ability to really engage. Goshik's in an awkward spot here, and when the Paranoia goes down, he can't smite the Dragon. Like, he's just not able to secure it. He has to flash over the wall, which means he's completely out of this fight. The equalizer comes through after it's already over. I mean, it's a decent equalizer, but it just doesn't matter. And Deft is so ahead. It just, like, I don't. This is this allowed to be shown on broadcast? Oh. Oh.
Yeah, that's. We will award one giant yike.
Like, Bao's family's watching at home, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
I don't know if we had to zoom in onto that one. Cover your eyes, kids.
Well, the goal difference is pretty big.
Yeah. No, I was going to say at least we're not accelerating as fast, but actually I think it was 10,000 at 25 is what we saw in the last game. We might be surpassing that here. They're looking for a Baron, actually, and to be honest, they probably could take it.
All the danger pings around the bottom side of the river here for DRX is pretty unfortunate, considering there's nobody there. They have no vision on either the right side of the river or the top side of the river here. Chovy will actually have to flash away, so that's a small victory.
Yeah. He's like, no, I don't know what's on the other side of that wall, so I'm not taking any chances. If he gets caught, it could delay some time. That maybe, just maybe, DRX could find something.
The power of Viego in a comp like this is very limited in its scope, because you're not able to side lane against this Nocturne. You know, you can't beat Dudu, but you're definitely not going to do anything when the Paranoia happens.
All right, let's see it. They're just going to push for the inhibitor with this Rift Herald as the equalizer will come down onto Deft. Hefty amount of damage, and the equalizer will be denied for now.
And the inhibitor actually survives.
All right, they're looking to turn it actually onto Kingen on the right side, and now in the front line, the Diana immediately goes down. Solka in the back line trying to make a play on a Deft, but Deft he's really strong. You're not going to be able to do that 1v1, let alone 1v2. Deft still charging on forward.
Bao's revenge.
Well, they're not going to get the inhibitor.
Yeah, they have
so that's something.
Off.
Are Chovy and Kingen just dancing? Like, what are they doing on the right side of a map?
He doesn't have Paranoia, and Set is nearby, so I think trying to collapse on that was a little bit risky. They decide not to do it. So we'll watch this one more time. Paranoia is actually in here onto the Set, so he buys a ton of time. Like, Chovy would have been better off. I mean, he's Crab Raven there on the side. It would have been better off, obviously, if he had engaged onto the meat of DRX here on the left side of the fight. And now it's kind of awkward here to actually chase further. And Bao is doing tons of damage. I think we've got maybe a Baron take happening here. Nope.
Chovy doesn't have flash, and the equalizer will come down. We do not have Hero's Entrance either. Chovy's going to get caught here. He does have an insane amount of life gain, as the rest of his team say, well, you can die and your sacrifice will not be in vain, as we will get Ocean Soul, as if Hanwha Life needed anything else on this map.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, the amount of aggro one champion can pull allows you to get some other objective on the map, and when you're that close to the Drake already, it's the best option here. I mean, it's not a set, it's not as amazing, but with all the items he has in sustain, like you said, it's pretty easy for him to draw that aggro. And if you don't bring everybody, he actually brings it back. He will kill you. So, such a rough time here. You know, the more longswords you see in a team like this too in the item department is when you know that everyone's just trying to get by as economically, like, thrifty as possible to try to pull something together in this game. As Chovy will get stunned here and pops his spell shield, spins, has the DRX, but that's enough time to get the Drake.
Yeah, picks up the Drake here. Hanwha Life, it's not as massive of a gold lead as game number one, but they still have a lot of other advantages here in this game that should push them over the edge. Def nearly 4,000 gold ahead is certainly going to help out.
Yeah. It's not fair to compare it to Bao because he's been stealing gold all over the map. It's like not really a fair one-to-one comparison because he's getting turrets in mid, he's getting so much extra farm, he's killing other players in other lanes.
Oops. Okay, Fate's call.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. It's like sometimes as the Galio, you go a little bit too far and you can just get pulled out like that.
Hanwha Esports put a lot of question mark pings on the Baron. They lost control vision for just a moment. They commit 3 control wards around this now. They've got the sweepers coming through. There was darkness here for a moment.
All right, we're just going in there. Chovy has no chill at this moment in time. He's going pretty deep as the Drusha Baron's trying to hit his teammates there, I think. The equalizer comes down, and Hanwha Life will just back away.
You can see Bao does a lot of damage, you know, despite the fact he's not quite as fed as Deft is in this game. He can start to do some serious damage with the 2 items he has completely online now with his Q. So Bao is doing a lot of damage, he's doing a lot of chip, and he's one way back into this game, even though he had a pretty tough start. I mean, it was honestly pretty terrible for him. It was a really hard game to play, but if Hanwha Esports are going to slowly engage into these fights and overstep, he's going to chunk you low, and that means that team fights are absolutely winnable. When you talk about his poke, equalizer that can come through, sets, follow-up engage, all the damage that his Haymaker is going to do. This game is winnable, right? Doable as it was earlier. But for DRX, but it's going to be hard. But I think it all has to start with Bao getting a lot of that poked on. He has to survive for those extended exchanges to end up leading to something. It's so hard to do against this Paranoia, against all the burst. If he's ever in range of Deft, the fight is already over. And with Fate's call, it's so hard to pick off anybody because they will just be absorbed, sent away.
When I watch Hanwha Life do these dances around Baron, I feel like it is a little bit worrying that they are so apprehensive to do it with this much of a lead. A lot of other teams will they'll start it, and they have tanks in their lineup, of which I suppose Hanwha Life doesn't have as tanky of members as maybe some others, but you can throw Chovy onto that, and he should be able to tank it well enough, and then they just turn. Right, they have fantastic turn. I mean, they're all these compositions right now in this meta. You see enemy champion, you jump on enemy champion. So if I'm Hanwha Life, you have Kalista. There's an extremely low chance that anyone is going to steal the Baron. And if you don't want to flip it, just turn when they jump into you, right? So
yeah, because if you happy feet a little bit here, you give opportunities for them to actually take a fight on even footing. They still just have so much vision control.
Right, True Shot Barrage, nice amount of damage. That's actually Arthur at half health here as the teleports are coming in. And here is the turn. This is what you go for. The Galio follow-up is going to be pretty large. Chovy is getting low. Big taunt does come in from Vista as the follow-up from Death. Finally now he's able to get in range. Was looking a little bit dicey there for just a moment, but at the end of the day, this is what you do. You start the Baron, you turn, and the team that's 10,000 gold behind is not going to win the fight.
That is going to be the end of this series.
And Chovy, he picks up his 1,000th kill in the LCK, the fastest player to do it here in LCK history. Congratulations to Chovy, one of the best.
He'll be the 15th player to do so as well, and this is a very huge, monumental moment for him in a very one-sided series, sadly. But, that's the biggest win here, I think, for Hanwha Life. You take your 2nd win of the season in dominant fashion. You prove that. I think a lot of the questions that people have right now are, where are the middle teams in the LCK? Have they gotten better? Have the top teams gotten